Valve values its gaming community. Their dedication to quality and joy produced some of the best games over a span of decades. Generations of fun memories have been created by Valve's timeless games, earning the company a place among the world's most beloved companies. With the recent 25th anniversary update of Half-Life, Valve brought a 2-decade-old game back to life. This begs the question, why does Valve care so much about its customers and community? And why does Valve keeps winning? Well, to understand how, we need to know how it all started in the first place. 1996. Valve was founded by former Microsoft employees Gabe Newell and Mike Harrington. Disappointed with the lack of innovation in the FPS genre, they aimed to create an immersive world rather than a shooting gallery. 2 years later, they released their first game, Half-Life. The development of this game is what makes it truly innovative for the time. Unlike other games at the time, the player has almost uninterrupted control of the player character, and the story is told mostly in scripted sequences rather than cutscenes. Valve initially planned to use traditional cutscenes, but switched to a continuous first-person perspective for lack of time. This created an unexpected sense of immersion and enforced a sense of loneliness in a frightening environment. They also felt that NPCs were unnecessary to guide players if the design had sufficiently strong visual grammar, and that this allowed the characters to feel like characters instead of signposts. Valve aimed for a November 1997 release to compete with Quake 2, but 1 month before that, the game was not fun and there was little design cohesion. An unusual thing to do at the time was that they assigned a small team, named the Cabal, to build a prototype level containing every element in the game, and then spend a month iterating on that level. Between the Cabal and playtesting, Valve identified and removed parts that proved unenjoyable. While there were struggles at first, the Cabal approach was critical for the game's success. Half-Life won more than 50 Game of the Year awards. Because of the huge success, it was ported to many systems and inspired numerous fan-made mods, some of which actually became standalone games, such as Counter-Strike, Day of Defeat, and Sven Co-op. Half-Life had a lasting influence. If you look at the history of the FPS genre, it breaks down pretty clearly into pre-Half-Life and post-Half-Life eras. In 2003, Valve launched Steam. Today is the most popular PC gaming platform in the world and the bearer of irresistible game sales. But when it launched, it was first posited as a simple digital distribution service to deliver patches to online games more easily. While it later could host multiplayer games and deploy anti-cheating software, it was a bit of a buggy mess at the time. Valve's own games and mods were the only ones available for the platform at first, but it soon became speedy and reliable. They made its first set of distribution agreements with third-party publishers and soon became profitable. Over time, it continued to roll out a range of new features, such as Steam Cloud, achievements, and community networking groups. The UI got a sorely needed and much improved visual makeover, and later the Mac and Linux client were released. Today you can shop for user-generated content in the Steam Workshop, buy non-gaming apps, and chat with your friends from the Steam mobile app, or trade Cisco skins. The constant improvement of the platform shows the focus on user-friendly features and seamless updates and can also be seen in Valve's innovations in game development. All of this is to say that Steam's success snowballed into something that's now Valve's greatest asset. The second of Valve's big post-Half-Life endeavors was a major update to its Gold Source game engine. For nearly 5 years, the company worked on a toolset that would not only be more powerful than before, but would also lend itself to continuous organic updates. The engine was named Source, and it officially arrived in August 2004 with the launch of the appropriately named remake Counter-Strike Source. Although the revamped physics of the game threw off Counter-Strike diehards at first, Valve would continue to showcase Source's capabilities in remakes like Half-Life Source and later on Day of Defeat Source. When Half-Life 2 was finally released later in 2004, more on that in the next section of the video, Source's graphical and physics power were on full display, impressing the masses in the process. Source brought the usual but nonetheless impressive upgrades, better lighting, more realistic physics, smoother graphics, etc. But its big draw was its heavy modularity. It's still rooted in the Gold Source engine, which in turn is rooted in the old Quake engine, so it isn't as powerful as Unreal Engine 4 for example. Its toolset is a little dated and it's never been very widely used by third-party studios. but you could argue that was never the point. Anyways, Source has powered every Valve game since 2004, except for Counter-Strike 2. And those constant updates have helped it hang in there from a technical standpoint today. And since Source is free to the public, it's been used by the thousands of modders who've made games out of Valve's releases over the past decades. Some of those mods, like Dear Esther or the Stanley Parable, have gone on to achieve notable success on their own. Source is no Unity, but it's always been something of an engine for the people, and that's worth something. But even with its ventures into Steam and Source, Valve still hadn't forgotten about its roots. It just seemed like it did. But at E3 2003, the company finally revealed the follow-up to its beloved Half-Life. With the new Source engine and the anticipation of millions behind it, Half-Life 2 quickly became one of the most desired games of the year. After numerous setbacks and delays, it was finally released, and immediately achieved and arguably surpassed the success of the original, wowing audiences and critics alike with its advanced physics systems and an increased focus on story and characters. Half-Life 2 received critical acclaim, and by 2011 it had sold 12 million copies. When the dust was settled on the big launch, the same post-launch flurry of mods and expansions that followed Half-Life 1 arrived again. The most successful of those is a simply named sandbox tool called Garry's Mod, which has since made more than 22 million in sales and has been behind a large number of machinima-style videos. Various other Half-Life 2 mods continue to be built and released by the community today. In 2006, Valve launched the first in a planned trilogy of narrative-based Half-Life 2 expansions, Half-Life 2 Episode 1. And while all of that was happening, the company continued to plug away on that old Team Fortress follow-up it had promised 7 years earlier. This came to a head with the October 2007 release of the Orange Box, which to this day is considered one of the best bargains in gaming history. For the price of one game, you got 5, 2 earlier released games and 3 new games. Half-Life 2 Episode 2, the hotly anticipated multiplayer shooter Team Fortress 2, and the spiritual successor to their back-heater drop, Portal. The whole package launched on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, along with Steam, which helped bring Valve's catalog to an even wider audience than before. Every game in the collection was well received, but particular praise went to Portal. It was a masterclass of game design and something legitimately unique in an accommodated market, and many people now consider it to be one of the greatest accomplishments of the medium. Team Fortress 2's new cartoony look was derided by some fans after it was first revealed at E3 2006, but has developed a large, dedicated and head-laughing player base that only expanded when it went free-to-play in 2011. And Half-Life 2 Episode 2 ended on a thrilling cliffhanger, setting up a highly desired conclusion to the trilogy. In January 2008, Valve acquired Turtle Rock Studios, with the explicit purpose of finishing and releasing Left 4 Dead. And once again, it proved that it had good taste when it came to picking out potential projects. Left 4 Dead formally launched on Steam and Xbox 360 in November of that same year, and when it arrived it was a campy zombie FPS with a particular focus on co-op play. It only had 4 levels to start, but they were each dictated by an adaptive AI that changed item spawns, music cues and zombie types each time you played. It didn't have much of a written narrative beyond survive and shoot zombies, but the gameplay could legitimately be called dynamic, and its co-op band made it a cheer to play with friends. Like Portal, Left 4 Dead felt like something fresh. So with that being said, you'd think Left 4 Dead's fans would be pumped to hear that the sequel was coming just a year later, right? Wrong. Indeed, Valve surprised the community by revealing Left 4 Dead 2 at E3 2009 and packing it to arrive in November of that year. And some fans weren't very happy. The backlash stemmed from Valve's earlier promise to continue supporting the original Left 4 Dead with DLC and expansions after it launched. With a brand new title coming so soon, they thought the first game would be abandoned and they'd have to plop down another $60 to get all the new content. Valve would go on to release a couple of DLC packs for the original game, and when Left 4 Dead 2 launched in November, most players had no problem paying for what was an improved, deeper version of an already fun title. Left 4 Dead 2 received expansions on its own in 2010, and it could safely be considered another all-round success. I could be rambling for hours on end about Valve's history, such as Portal 2, Dota 2, the Steam Machine, but then this video would get too long. So for now I'm going to skip that part and talk about the present. The internet has really changed the relationship between customers and product or service providers. The lines are a lot blurrier between who is a customer and who is a creator. I know this sounds fake, but hang on with me for a second. Sometimes people are producing as much as they are consuming the experience. If you look at a multiplayer game, it's the people who are playing the game who are often more valuable than all of the animations, models and game logic that's associated with it. So, for Valve, it's a lot easier to realize that the experiences they create for people are really a collaboration between all of the members of the community. Nowadays you have kids making six-figure incomes making art assets inside the framework that Valve created, and they're able to sell digital goods and services around the whole world. It's pretty concrete that you have to recognize that you're in a partnership with your customers. This is the mentality that Valve has regarding its customers and community. In an interview, Gabe Newell said the following.
What we've always found is that the closer we are to our customers, the more introspection we have into their choices and values, the more money we make. Today, an individual at Valve can basically get data back from 10 million people in 10 minutes.
The company's philosophy in simple terms is the following. Give people the tools to focus on making customers' lives better and throw away everything else. So, get rid of organizations, get rid of titles, put everybody's desks on wheels and just say, here are the tools you have so you can tell whether you're doing a good job or not, and support people as much as possible with the colleagues and tools they need to do that. A recent example of Valve's focus on its community is the 25th anniversary update of Half-Life. They updated their 25-year-old game with a huge amount of changes, bug fixes and new content. The new mini-campaign Half-Life Uplink was added, 4 new multiplayer maps were added, the graphic settings were updated, the Steam Deck is now supported, along with many other changes. Besides all that, they also released a 1-hour documentary with the Half-Life 1 dev team. This effort shows that Valve truly cares about its community. In 2013, Valve announced its first attempt at entering the console market, Steam machines. Steam machines were small gaming PCs designed for TV that run on Valve's own Steam OS. They were created in collaboration with many computer hardware companies meant to bring Steam to the television. Companies like iBuyPower, Alienware, CyberPower PC, Origin PC and even Gigabyte were all making Steam machines. And each had different specs with prices ranging from $499 all the way to $5,000. The machines each ran on SteamOS, Valve's Linux-based operating system designed solely to run Steam. The operating system is also open source, which allows anyone to adapt it to their liking, because at the time, SteamOS only allowed playing video games and browsing the web. There was no file manager or integration with streaming services, except for Netflix through the built-in browser. It functioned much like the OS for Xbox and PlayStation. Each Steam machine would also ship with a Steam controller, designed for people who were comfortable with controllers and for those who opted to play games using mouse and keyboard. The controller had 2 trackpads, an analog stick and 14 different buttons. It could be used with both the Steam machine and on PC. The Steam machines looked to be an exciting next step for Steam, but problems arose as the release date neared. In November 2015, both Falcon Northwest and Origin PC pulled out due to limitations with SteamOS. 7 months after release, the Steam machines had fewer than 500,000 sales, and by the end of 2016, most companies shelved their machines. In 2018, Valve removed a link to the Steam machines page on Steam, and in 2019, the Steam controller was discontinued. Alongside the release of the Steam machines came the Steam Link. While it was not a console, it still went after a very similar market by allowing users to stream their games to the TV. The owner would have to connect a controller to the device and own a PC that ran Steam. The Steam Link suffered a similar fate to the Steam machines, except that it still lives on as downloadable software. In 2018, the hardware was discontinued, but the Link still exists on mobile devices and smart TVs. The app is a free alternative that does the same thing as the box and is available on every major app store. The Steam Deck is Valve's next attempt at cutting out a part of the console market for itself. While Valve is primarily a software and game company, it has had success with its VR headset, the Valve Index. The Nintendo Switch-like device is a portable PC, designed to not only run games from players' existing Steam libraries, but also do whatever you want on it. For example, install Windows and use it for emulation, or use it as a portable Xbox Game Pass machine. Since you probably already know what the Steam Deck is capable of, I'm not gonna bore you with the specifications. Instead, I'm just going to tell you that the Steam Deck was a huge success. In 2022, Valve sold more than 1 million units, which brought in at least $600 million in sales. Check out this video for an in-depth look at that. The versatile gaming experience, flexible controls, affordable performance, expandable storage, and its developer support are all a part of this success. In spite of the initially long waits, the Steam Deck hasn't struggled to find an audience. Community and support is what makes it so great. Besides content created by users, such as custom boot videos, third-party companies also took notice of the rising sales and have since brought many geeky peripherals. Valve uses feedback provided by the users as the main tool to evaluate success and determine the next steps. Game compatibility and issues with certain anti-cheat systems were the first focus, and now the development focus has shifted to features that add value, such as HDR and ray tracing. A few weak points of the Steam Deck are its slightly bland IPS display and short battery life, points to which newer, shinier rivals, such as the Asus ROG Ally and Lenovo Legion Go, have been happy to apply pressure. That's when Valve released the Steam Deck OLED. It's not a new generation, but has a whole lot more than just that new screen. It is a lighter, brighter, longer lasting, sometimes even faster running take on the SteamOS handheld, and one that sneaks in some surprise upgrades as often as it addresses issues with the original Steam Deck. It has a slightly bigger screen, upping from 7" to 7.4 inches, and increased the refresh rate to 90 Hz. The sRGB gamut coverage measures at 93.8% on the Steam Deck OLED, a massive improvement on the original's 63.7%. The refreshed APU won't make a big difference, but is a welcome change. Cyberpunk 2077, for example, rose from 45 FPS to 47 FPS. It also runs cooler. It went from 42 degrees to 31, which in turn makes it run quieter. Fan noise maxed out at 58 dB on the original Steam Deck and 52 dB on the Steam Deck OLED. For all these little adjustments though, nothing about the Steam Deck OLED has as fundamental an impact on its day-to-day doings as the battery life upgrades. These are impressively broad. The battery itself is bigger, up from 40 Wh to 50 Wh, but it's also getting help from the APU's efficiency improvements as well as the OLED screen itself. Steam Deck OLED can last up to 50% longer than the previous model, and depending on how heavy the game is, even more. All these improvements cost even less than the original Steam Deck. Comparing the 512GB model, the OLED costs $549, while the original costed $649 at launch. These pieces of hardware show that Valve is back on the right track regarding its hardware. By the end of 2023, Valve is estimating that a total of 3.5 million Steam Decks will have been sold. If viewed as a console, this means that the deck has outsold the Sega CD and given a couple more years, will be well on its way to reaching the Sega Dreamcast or Sega Saturn sales numbers. Steam Deck is this generation's fourth console, and I think so long as growth continues, a Steam Deck 2 could be in striking distance of whatever is the next gen Xbox. Although the Steam Deck is super successful, it's still very early for handheld gaming, and Steam Deck 2 is still years away. You can actually compare the potential of PC handhelds to the rise of smartphones. Many giant tech companies all compete to make major improvements from year to year. And Valve has a unique perspective because they have direct relationships with developers through Steam. Many studios will optimize the games to run smooth on the Steam Deck. The new handheld device will maybe not be the only hardware Valve will release in the upcoming years. Back in 2021, a VR YouTuber came across the codename Deckard in a driver file for the Index's base stations. Based on other sources as well, Valve may or may not be exploring standalone tracking solutions, of the kind we know from headsets like the Quest or the PSVR 2. But what is clear is that it's focusing on future developments in VR. With the recent release of Counter-Strike 2, we could be seeing more games ported to the new engine, Source 2. This new engine will most likely be the base for Valve's games in the foreseeable future. In an interview, a product designer at Valve said the following.
The company has a lot of games in development and will continue to release games. Game development is very important to Valve. I don't know the exact numbers, but the percentage of employees involved in game development is high. A lot of people are involved.
Virtual reality was a big inspiration for the company. one that at least has them talking about the H word. The company even reportedly desires to continue exploring the Half-Life universe. When Valve released Aperture Desktop, a datamine led to reckless speculations. In it are extremely thin details about 4 possible games, from which CS2 already released. One seems to be connected to a canned entry in the Portal series. Another is called Citadel, and seems to be an RTS FPS hybrid, with some team, class and squad structure. And finally, dare I even say this, another looks like a possible follow-up to Half-Life Alyx.